my chat? I can't see the chat. All right. Chat. There we go. What the? All right. What in the world? I have a problem. There we go. I solved it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Forgot to bring up my chat window. I got to get my screens all situated. There we go. That mostly does it. Okay, so we have to do some shameless plugs. I gotta no, not shameless plugs. I gotta spam people. First up on the agenda is spamming people. So, if you are a member of the DM Lair Discord, you are about to get spammed. I gotta find the buttons though. Squeaky's bothering me already. He's already bothering me. All right, we gotta go to Discord. That's our first step. Discord. Videos and streams. So what are we doing tonight? We're doing Q&A. All right. Come hang out with us for some Game Master Q&A. And we're gonna need that. I think that's good. I think that's all I need. Spam? Yes. Spam. All right, let's go do a Twitter one too. That's probably a good place to do it. Twitter. Yes. Hey, Marcin, what's up, dude? How you doing, buddy? And then let's do some hashtags here. There you go. Those are some good hashtags. Post that crap. Yay, posted. All right. I believe the spamming is all set. I've been a DM since before I was born too, dude. That's like my line, man. All right, so I've spammed people, and now I think we can get this show on the road. All right, let's get rid of this. I don't need to see that. Actually, maybe I do need to see that. No, I don't need to see that. All right, let's get over there. All right, cool. Now what am I doing? Oh yeah, push this button right there. Hey, that's the big camera button. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. Tonight we're hanging out. We're gonna do some Q&A, so you can ask me questions and I'll like answer them and stuff, and it'll be entertaining. We're gonna see how many rants we can trigger tonight. You know, if you can get me worked up about something. So yeah, just throw your questions in the chat. If you can remember to put like, you know, hashtag question in big, like, you know, letters, caps, all caps and stuff, so I can see it, that will be super helpful to me. Yeah. So anyway, that's what we're doing tonight. It's just Q&A. It's gonna be fun. So, however, I need to do like plugs and stuff, you know, because that's what we do around here. Just shameless plugs and crap before we get rolling. First thing is, we do have a giveaway going on tonight. We always have a giveaway every live stream. You can get a copy of Into the Fae level 1 to 5 adventure module. It'll be signed by me. I sign everyone who wins these things in the giveaways gets a signed copy. It is from our very first print run ever. So you get one of those. We'll do the giveaway. We'll draw the winner of the giveaway at the end of the live stream. And then what else am I supposed to talk about? We should do, well, let's do our patron shout outs before I forget. That's probably a good thing to do. Put their names up on the screen right here. All right, so these are all of our awesome patrons. These dudes here help support what we do. I love these guys. They also get a whole bunch of content for being patrons. They get Lair magazine. We now have Foundry VTT modules for both 5th edition and Pathfinder 2. And by the way, Lair magazine comes in Pathfinder 2 as well as 5th edition. So no matter what game system you play, or even if you play both of them, we have content you can use in your games. So all our patrons get Lair magazine, and our $25 plus patrons get Foundry as well. So thank you, everybody. We hope that you enjoy the crap we make for you. And they also help support our free content as well. So I'm deeply appreciative to our awesome patrons. And then these folks right here, they get their name read out loud because these are our $25 plus patrons. So they bribe me with extra money to read their names aloud. Mispronounce half of their names, generally speaking. Here we go. Adam B, Agile Monk. I mean, that was a hard one. Agile Monk, Alexandro N, Alex S, Alexander O, Amanda W, Ambers, Angelique K, Art Soccer, Ashley, Beavis Khan, Bees in Space, Black Wolf, Brad M, Bradley H, Brandon A, Brandon P, Brian D, Brian O, Brian the Lion, Carl C, Chris C, Christine B, Christopher G, Colette H, Colin W, Connor D, Contrary Gravy, Corey A, Courtney H, Dazzled Up, David S, Da Wolf, Dean B, Derek E, Dice Goblin Wannabe, Dominique S, Don D, Dazim, Dungeon of Terra, Dutch, Ed R, Edward B, Edward L, Imfrabo, Endorian72, Eric B, Erno T, Gabrielle T, Gary C, Gene A, Generic Throwaway, George E, George R, Greg P, Guapo, GVTM, Hard Ungaled, Helltong, HLD, Iron Cascade, It's Bailbon, Jackie Pizza, Jake L, Jacob K, James C, James L, Jen F, Jennifer W, Jeremy W, Jim P, Joanne P, Joel, John A, John J, John the Wicked, John Pink Nose. Oh, I think I just figured that out. Jonathan F, Jonathan S, Jonathan V, Jordan A, Jose, Joseph H, Joseph W, Josh M, Josh S, Joshua J, G, Joe Juan, Joe Juan, Kabata, Keek no Tito Tikasuka Tupaki. Sorry. Kevin F, Kill Saber K, Kirby, Crystal S, Curryclaw, Laura L, Laser HS, Lionheart, Linda, Loke, Lord H, Luke E, Matlock, Macy C, Magna, Marcel W, Matt S, Matthew C, Mipanone, Meepy, Michael G, Merylstall, Mitchell, Mo20s, Moon, Mordakin, Mr. Owl, Nerd with Glasses, Nerd over 900, Nicholas S. Neareth, Old Man Mage, PN, Pethnick, Pivo, Porkchop Bacon, Puppet Master, Quithemo, Randy B, Rebar, Renner C, Richard M, Robert W, Rob W, oh geez, Robert C, Robin B, is it possible that somebody can have the name Rob but not Robert? Like, do people name their kids just Rob? Like, that's it, just Rob? Is that a thing? Gotta be truncated, right? Ryan, Sale R, Sakura, Samantha J, Samuel M, Scott R, Scott S, Shadow 1317, Shane L, Sheila A, Simfan, Snapbragger, Soul Bora Gaming, Son of a Sofa Man, Soul Nia, Stan the Man, Steven, Stefan G, Stephen T, Steve L, Steve S, Sturm, Terry V, The Three Quarters Hospital, The Old DM, The Wookiee, The Fuzzle, The New Bad Ombre, Thomas F, Timothy T, TK, Travels the Lost, Trinity Series, Tyler D, Tyler R, Unalloyed, Undying Warlock, Valagor, Victoria Q, Vinny, Val Adam, Vladimir S, Walt O, Wesley K, William C, XX Red Drum, Jack, Zachary J, Zombie Trami. Whee! That always feels like an achievement. I get through those, and if I didn't insult anybody by mispronouncing their names, I feel like I've won. It's pretty nice. All right, cool. Let's just do some questions and answers and stuff, man. That's sweet. Have you looked into the Chains of Admodius book that dropped yet? I have no idea what that is. Let's find out what that is. Chains of Asmodeus. I don't know what that is. Chains of Asmodeus. Dungeon Masters Guild? That's a Dungeon Masters Guild book? Look, I don't pay attention to Dungeon Masters Guild. I don't even pay attention to things not on Dungeon Masters Guild. I have no idea what that is. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. It's a source book, an adventure for the Nine Hells, written by legendary game designer James Olin. Okay, I don't know who that is, but he's a legend, so he's got a lot of game names attached to him that sound impressive. So cool. And then award-winning author Adrian, name I can't pronounce. I don't know who that is either. I'm sorry. But I guess they won awards, so yo. And cool. I mean, no, I don't know what this is, but thank you for letting us know. All right. Next question. Yeah, this is Squirty Pie. This is Squirty Pie right here. He's saying hi. What's up, Squirts? Yeah, don't rub against my cameras or I'll throw you down. Look at her, look at her. She went right for my camera. Told you not to. Knock something off the desk. Don't touch the cameras. All right. Question. My friend is DMing his first game and he is struggling with a new player. She is a Rouge. Well, that's the first problem. If you have a player who is a Rouge, you need to get them out of the game right away. Like, that's not gonna work. So she's a Rouge, and it often turns into 2 hours of her character shop sneaking off alone out of a 4-player time. Okay, I'm gonna tell you exactly what you do with that. This is what you do with that. This is what you do with that. I would recommend that the dungeon master speaks to the player alone. Okay, you know, get them like out in a parking lot somewhere nice and alone. Okay, because they need to explain, they need to like have a conversation with them about it being a group game, right? And they need to explain the idea that, look it, if you're Rouge, we're just gonna go with Rouge because that's apparently the class they're playing today. If your Rouge is constantly sneaking off and doing shopping or stealing or whatever they're doing, and I'm spending 2 hours adjudicating and running what your Rouge is doing, that's 2 hours that the other players are literally not playing the game. They're sitting there doing nothing and they're watching, if that. But the chances are good they're not even watching. The chances are good they're like whipping out their phones and doing other stuff because, well, you know, what's D&D, Pathfinder 2, whatever game you happen to be playing, like these tabletop role-playing games, they're group games. That's why you have multiple people at the table. They're not solo games, right? So you're not like going on a computer game and just playing by yourself. And you know, that's not the way this works. It's a group game. And so when you're running a group game like this, you really want to have everybody at the table participating simultaneously, participating in the same scenes, ideally, for the most part, most of the time. Because if you don't, then what you have is people are not involved and they're bored. And most people, exceptions, but most people come to D&D games or whatever you're playing to play the game. And so if your Rouge is preventing other people from playing the game, and that's why they're there, that's an issue, right? And so you want to explain the social dynamics, right, of how the game runs and that it's a group game and other people's feelings, and they're going to feel like they're not able to play the game and they're not going to be happy about that. That needs to be explained to this player because it's possible they have no idea. They could be completely oblivious to this. They could just be super excited that I can do anything I want and I'm a Rouge. And what do Rouges do? We steal stuff and we go shopping, right? And so they might not be aware of what they're doing, that what they're doing is disruptive to the game table or that it's impacting other people's fun. They could be oblivious to it. We'll give them a benefit of the doubt. And so the game master needs to explain that to them and ask them basically, hey, you know, we need to like, you need to like stick with the group most of the time so we can run a group game. Okay, that's the first solution. So talk with them and say, hey, stick with the group for the most part. However, if you do sneak off by yourself and do something, this is how we're going to resolve it. And so the first solution I gave you was speaking with the player and asking them to stick with the group. But sometimes players go off by themselves and that's okay from time to time. Now, what your game master can do when that player does sneak off by themselves, they don't have to spend 2 hours running the game for them solo playing. They don't have to spend 2 hours role-playing the scene, every little thing, describing every shop building, and then describing opening the window and describing casing the joint. They don't have to describe all of that. The player says, I'm gonna go off by myself and go shopping. The game master says, that's great. You can buy whatever you want that's in the player handbook at the listed prices. Go ahead and just resolve that by yourself. Okay, everybody else, what are you guys doing? That's it. You don't gotta role play out that whole thing. You do a sharp cut. You take care of that crap behind the screen. The player can take care of it and they're done. If they're like, well, I wanna go steal some stuff. Okay, give me a stealth check. Okay, now give me a sleight of hand check. Okay, cool, now give me a deception check. Okay, cool, based on those checks, you were successful in stealing 100 gold pieces worth of something. You make your choice. That's it, boom, you're done. You don't need to role play out the entire scene, the entire 2 hours in all of its detail. When somebody is going off by themselves, you just do a really sharp cut, you just do that really fast and get it over with. That way everybody else can keep on playing the game together as a group game. So there are 2 solutions to that. One is asking the player to be more involved with the social contract of the idea of playing as a group. And the other one is the game master using tricks and stuff that they can use to make that part of the game go more smoothly when that player does decide to go off by themselves. So there's a few different things that they can do to not have 2 hours be so focused solely on that player, right? That's the ultimate solution. Now, if you have a player who's uncooperative with that and they buck and they don't want to do that and they're like, no, I want to role play everything out and I want the spotlight and I don't care about them, you have a totally different issue, right? But my suspicion is that there are few players who are genuinely that horrible that they're gonna want to like monopolize the spotlight and ruin everybody else's game. Once the situation is explained to them, I think things will get better. And then as the game master implements the strategies I just discussed, things will get better. And you can mostly wrap that problem up pretty easily with just a little bit of conversation and some game mastery techniques, I suppose. All right, keep going. Questions. What did you do for Halloween? We did not celebrate Halloween, so we did nothing. We turned our porch lights off so nobody would ring our doorbell. That's what we did. Where can I get the stats for the dowels you used in Curse of Strahd that stabbed a player in the eye with a needle? Okay, that is from Tome of Beasts. I don't know if it was like Tome of Beasts 1, 2, or Creature Codex. It was one of them, but it's called an eye golem. I'm pretty sure that's called an eye golem, like eye golem. And an eye golem is a medium-sized creature, you know. I just reskinned the thing. You know, I said it's a doll and I gave it the eye golem stat block. That's all I did. That's all I did. And that thing was nasty too. Gouging out eyes. It was a nasty little thing. So there you go. Tome of Beasts. It's called the eye golem. You could probably do a Google search and find which one it's in pretty easily. Do you have any tips for running a revolution? My party is traveling the entire kingdom and not really settling in one location, and they just claimed a few towns for their cause. You know, there are no rules about running a revolution. I would say that it's probably harder to start a revolution than the typical D&D game table probably implements it. Like, if you're gonna incite an entire populace to your cause, that's very challenging. That's very difficult. You're gonna have to do a whole bunch of stuff to get people incited to your cause. You have to, and then you're gonna have the authorities and other people that are in charge that are going to be working against you once they realize what you're doing. And so if they're just rolling into a town and saying like, yeah, we want to get them on our side, we want to incite a revolution, you know, and you're like, okay, give me a persuasion check, and they roll a check, and then the cleric gives guidance, so they get like a D4 added on top of it, you know, and then somebody does the help action, so they have advantage on it, you know, and so they have advantage, and then they make sure that they go around and figure out who has the highest charisma score and the highest, like, you know, persuasion check, and then you got like the cleric with like a +20 rolling with advantage with a D4 on it, and there's like one die roll, and they're like, whoa, look at that, it's a 32, and then you're like, wow, okay, yeah, the whole town is convinced and they join the revolution. Well done. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, I have no idea, but what I would suggest is think about, well, okay, they want to incite this town to revolution. That's an entire adventure. That's an entire objective that they need to achieve. And there could be a whole lot of things that go into that, right? You need to find out, what is your strategy? Who are you going to talk to? How are you going to incite this revolution? You might have to go find people that are more susceptible to it. You might have to go find influential people in that society that you can win over to your cause. And that could be that they might want a favor. They might need you to go on an adventure to do a thing, so they'll support you. There might be some persuasions and things like that to do as well. And then as you're beginning to, and there might be multiple things you have to do to try to win this one town over. And then while you're doing that, the authorities are going to get wind of that. And so guess what? They're going to figure out who's doing this, where is the root cause of this, and they're going to try to stop you, right? At first, they might just haul you before the magistrate, and be like, you guys are going to stop this or there's trouble, right? And after that, they're going to be like, okay, look, they're going to incite the entire population to a revolt. Like, we have to stop these people. At that point, they're going to get physical, more than likely. They might exile you, kick you out of town. If you come back, then they might have guards go after you. They might hire rival adventuring groups to take you out. Authority is going to do a lot of stuff. They're going to go to a very long extents to stop a revolution from happening, because when a revolution happens, they lose all of their authority. Like, everything is on the line for them. And so taking over a town and winning it to your cause should be a challenging thing to achieve. It should not be something that can just be done like in a few dice rolls and like guidance and inspiration and crap. Like, it's not that easy. And so I would turn winning over a town into an entire adventure or string of adventures, different objectives and things that they have to do to bring that town over. Like, take your adventure structure, right, of running a game, and it could just be like a node-based or an event-based adventure. Take this adventure structure we have and take what they're trying to do and turn it into an adventure. We don't want this to just be some like persuasion checks and deception checks. That's way too easy when you're trying to do something as monumental as like causing a revolt in a town and winning it over to your cause. And so I would take that approach. And obviously what I just told you is very vague, right? But those are the general like swim lanes that you should follow, I think, to try to do this sort of thing. Oh, there you go. Question: the players took a long time with side quests. The villain won't be at the dungeon when they arrive. Nice, that's perfect. How to make it not disappointing for the players? No, you missed. No. That's not disappointing. That's not disappointing, dude. That's the most awesome thing you could possibly do. Your players' minds will be blown, and they're gonna be like, dude, you have to not let the villain be there. Like, the villain's not there. They doing these side quests and stuff, and they're going to arrive, and it's all over. Like, the villain's not there. Let's just pretend that the entire dungeon, different scenario, all right? A rival adventuring group who was hired by perhaps the same people that hired your party or your player's party, a rival adventuring group got there first, and they already assaulted the dungeon. However, they weren't perfectly successful, and let's say they TPK'd about halfway through. Well, at that point, the villain was like, oh crap, somebody knows that I'm here, and these guys came to assault me, and we won, but if we stay here, there's no guarantee that other adventuring groups aren't gonna come. So let's pack up your crap, boys, he tells his minions, right? Get your crap together, we're leaving. And then they relocate their entire base of operations somewhere else. And so that adventure, when you run that adventure, this is what you do. Okay, you're gonna run that adventure in a different way. Now, this is gonna involve some work on your end, unfortunately, but instead of just having it be empty and cleared out, this villain left and took all of his stuff with him and all of the remaining bad guys, right? And then other monsters moved in. Like, an adventure, like a base, a cave, a compound, like that's prime real estate. Like, that doesn't just stay empty, usually. Things will move in, and so put other things there. And then your players arrive and they're just like, wow, we're fighting these things and doing stuff, and this isn't exactly what we were told it was gonna be. That's really weird. And then about halfway through, they find these corpses of these adventurers that have been like defiled, the arms ripped off, the eyes gouged out, and all this kind of stuff, because the villain was mad, right, that they came in and did that thing. And they're like, well, this is weird. There's a rival adventuring group that's dead. And then they start to find other dead bodies of like maybe the villains. Maybe there's a mass grave or something you know, and they're just like, oh crap, what happened? This is really weird. And then they get through the whole thing and there's no villain, and then finally maybe, and put clues throughout it, you know, so they can finally figure out and be like, crap, they're not here anymore. And then somebody's probably gonna be like, you know what, you guys, that's because we win all these side quests and we took like a lot longer to get here. He's already gone. Now we gotta go track him down, right? And that right there, that is reinforcing the verisimilitude of your world. That's reinforcing the living, breathing nature of it. The fact that your players can go off and do a thing, and that dungeon didn't just stay there. It wasn't static. The villain didn't just sit put like a good villain, waiting for the players to come and defeat him. No, he reacted, he went off and did something. And when your players see that, they're gonna be like, oh man, this is so cool. Like the world, like it reacted and the villain did a thing, and like now we have to go find out where he actually is, you know. And I think that can be a really cool game experience for them, you know. So disappointment, I don't think it'll be, yes, there'll probably be a little bit of disappointment, but that, who cares, right? Like they lollygagged, you know, lollygagged over there, and they missed their chance, and so now they got to go try again. But that could be a really cool discovery, a really cool adventure for them. So I wouldn't feel like, oh, they're gonna be disappointed. No. Who cares if they're disappointed, right? Do something cool that will be exciting and fun for them, right? But if there's a little bit of disappointment, well, you know, they kind of asked for it and they'll get over it. And the cool factor of what you did will compensate for any disappointment I think that might slip in there. How do I help super introverted players feel involved? So I think the first thing to recognize is not every player is the same. There are different types of players. Some players are perfectly happy with sitting there and being quiet most of the time and just observing and experiencing things. So my first point is, be aware that there are people like that and that they're okay with that. They're perfectly fine. They want to be there. They want to be there with friends and they want to be part of it, but they're okay with not being super involved all the time. Like, they're okay with that. So be aware of that. That is a thing. So don't feel like if somebody is quiet, that means they're either not having fun or they're not enjoying it. Or, that's not necessarily the case. It could be, but not necessarily. So be aware of that, first of all. Second of all, what I would do as a game master is give them opportunities to participate. Don't force them, give them opportunities. So the player's quiet and you're like, hey, Cindy, would you like to say anything to the NPC? And Cindy's like, no, you know, everybody's kind of already said everything. I'm cool. Okay, cool. Awesome. You know, and obviously combat, they get their turn in combat. What are you going to do there? You know, they are getting their turn and stuff. But outside of combat, give them opportunities, extend to them opportunities. So everybody else is doing something. You're in a blacksmith shop at night because you're casing the joint because you guys are planning on like doing a heist or something, whatever. So, you know, everybody's doing things. They're all investigating and doing these things, but Cindy's quiet. Okay, hey, Cindy, what would you like to do? And Cindy's like, oh, you know what? I want to go look at the horseshoes. Okay, cool. Let's go do it. So call on the person, give them an opportunity to participate. If they decline and say they don't want to do anything, that's fine. All you need to do as a game master is just extend the opportunity. If they take it, good. If they don't, that's cool. But make sure that they have the ability to participate if they want to, because sometimes people are shy, introverted, and they want to say something, but there's not an opportunity to do so because everybody else keeps on talking. Or they don't feel comfortable interjecting, but if you call on them, then they'll speak. And so the trick is just to call on them every so often and make sure that they have the opportunity. That's all you got to do. My cat is rubbing again. It's rubbing against my camera. Little guy, I don't know why. I got to give the cats like something else to rub against. That's what I got to do. You're very welcome, Remex. Okay, cool. This cat won't stop rubbing against my camera. I'm gonna keep pushing it around. All right, I want to do a quick shameless plug for you guys because today we just released the next issue of Lair magazine. This is the November issue of Lair magazine. It's themed around fiends and flames. So table of contents right here, the cover issue, the cover art is so beautiful. We have an entire adventure arc in this issue of Lair magazine. The devil is in the details. It is a level, let's see, time to toss the dice. What level is this adventure arc? It goes from level 9, it's 9, 10, and 11, and it has a whole bunch of new monsters. It is the Diabolus monsters. Let's find out where they are. These guys are cool. So we have a bunch of monsters right here. We are looking at, this is the 5th edition version of Lair magazine issue 35, but we also have a Pathfinder 2 version as well. So we have 10 new fiendish monsters for you. We have an entire adventure arc, and the adventure arc comes with these beautiful maps as well. It comes with, one of the things we do too is you always have read aloud text. You can see there's read aloud text, so you can read that to your players. You can paraphrase it if you want. We have role-playing notes that tells you how to role-play the creatures you come across. And we have encounter notes that talk about if combat arises, what you can do. And the cool thing too is that we also have everything in Foundry VTT, both 5th edition and for Pathfinder 2. So you can see here that we have everything is in the stat blocks. All the stat blocks are here. We have all of the adventure information as well. Everything from the adventure, like I can pull up the individual areas in the adventure, and all the read aloud text is here. Everything that you need, everything is like hyperlinked, and everything is like totally professionally cool, awesome, put together. So everything you need is here, like the map, the tokens, every stinking thing. We have it all in Foundry. We just released that today to our patrons. So go check it out. It's really cool. You might enjoy it. And that concludes our shameless plug. There should be links in the description to like Lair magazine and our Patreon and stuff. You know, if there aren't, that kind of defeats the purpose of a shameless plug. Yes, the maps are absolutely gorgeous. Marcin was in chat. He might still be here, but he did though. I'm pretty sure he did those maps. Marcin can confirm, but I'm pretty sure these maps were from Marcin. Let me take a look at them. Where was it? I'm pretty sure that's Marcin. Is that right, dude? Did you do those? I think those were him. I could be wrong. Actually, you know how I can tell? I can literally, it tells me in the adventure. Yes. Cartography by Architect GM. Yes, see, look at, oh, you can't see my screen. I'm sorry. Yeah, it literally, we give credit to the people who create these things. And it literally says Cartography by Architect GM. That's Marcin, so he's cool. He does a lot of our maps. Actually, he just told me that he has now created like over 100 maps, or he just hit 100 maps for our publications. So yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I found your name in them, dude. They're totally yours. It's cool stuff. All right. More questions. Last night I ran a game and the party average level was 9.4, and I had a CR10 and 8 fight them with a couple spies and a bard. It still wasn't challenging enough. Do I simply buff health? No, never buff health. So I wanna punch some numbers on what you're doing here to see where this comes out as far as challenge rating. So I'm gonna go in here to the tool that I used, calculate challenge rating. And what did you say they were? The party level was 9. We'll just call them 9. How many players did you have? Did you have 4 players or 5 players? How many players did you have? Who is this? Who am I talking to? Marcus Solon. How many players did you have? We're gonna say they're level 9. Average level is 9. And you had, I need to know what the CRs were. So you said you had 1 CR10, and then you had 1 CR8, and you said you had a couple spies and a bard. What CR are the spies and the bard? Let me know what their CRs are. You had 4 players? Okay, cool. I think a spy is like a CR1, and a bard is maybe a 3. I'm just totally off my memory, but I could be totally wrong on those. And yeah, that's supposed to be deadly. Oh, you've ran into like the #1 complaint of dungeon masters for 5th edition D&D everywhere. Their challenge rating system sucks. Who wants to bet? Who thinks they're gonna fix their challenge rating system in the new edition that comes out. I'm sorry. It's not a new edition. It's not a new edition. It is, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's not a new edition. They have confirmed that it's not a new edition, so we know it's not a new edition. Because if they said it's not a new edition, we know it's not a new edition. Now that you have to buy new books for it begs the question of, if it's not a new edition, what? I don't know, but we know it's not a new edition because they said it's not a new edition. There are no longer any editions. Editions are the thing of the past, right? So we can rest assured, but we just don't know what to call it, right? Let's just call it the 2024 version of D&D, I suppose. Now, we all know that by 2025, everybody will call it 6th edition, and eventually even Wizards will call it 6th edition, because that's just the way these things go. But for now, let's just say the 2024. But my point is what I was trying to say is, who thinks they're actually going to fix the challenge rating system and how encounter difficulties are created and balanced? Who thinks they're going to fix that? Who thinks they're going to fix it? I hope they fix it. If they care at all about game masters that run their games and that are frustrated, they're going to fix that. If they care at all, they will fix that. Now, I don't know. I don't pay attention to their update packets anymore. Most of the ones that I've seen and been aware of are almost all player updates, like classes, races, subclasses. Everything seems to be related to player content. So my fear is that they're not going to even look at the challenge rating system. That's my fear. I hope that's not true, because that would be a bad mistake. But I don't know. What do I know? Update, yes. Fix, probably not. Yeah, let's see. We'll see what they do. Anyway, that wasn't what his question was. The question on the table was, what do you do? Because you gave them an encounter that was supposed to be deadly and it still wasn't challenging. So this is kind of the conundrum with D&D 5th edition. Unfortunately, it's guesswork, dude. It's guesswork. You're at level 9, which means that the challenge rating system is pretty much not going to work for you a whole lot anymore. It's mostly just used to eyeball things. And if you know that your players can handle that deadly of an encounter with ease, well, then you should probably add some more monsters. But I do want to point something out to you. I do want to point something out because I just noticed this. And I'm going to zoom in. This is supposedly deadly, but I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. If you read the rules in the Dungeon Master Guide about calculating the difficulty of encounters, what you're going to find is that it does say that if some of the monsters are significantly less powerful, they might not contribute to the challenge at all, and therefore you should not count them when you calculate the challenge rating. So I would submit to you that this spy and this bard are such low level CRs that they probably don't significantly change the dynamics of that encounter. So I would remove them. I would only consider that you have a CR 10 and a CR 8 in your encounter. And then if we recalculate that, we can see that it's still supposed to be deadly. Supposed to be deadly. However, what I want to point out to you is that you have two monsters against 4 characters. And that means that action economy is going to favor the characters and the monsters are going to fall behind. And so it's a similar thing if we only had one monster, but we called it a CR 12. And that is going to be a hard encounter, supposedly. But I'm going to tell you what, you put one monster in front of 4 characters and it's going to be dead very, very fast. Especially if it happens to be like a caster type, like an archmage, it's going to be dead in 1 round and it's not going to do anything. And so you can't just look at these numbers. You have to look at other things as well when you're balancing an encounter and creating an encounter. The first thing that's going to help you a lot is if you have roughly the same amount of creatures as you have characters, that's going to help out a lot. And so I wouldn't deploy 1 monster or 2 monsters. I would look to deploy at least 4 monsters. 4 monsters are going to be a lot better. So we want 4 of them. And let's just pretend that they're level 8s. They're CR 8s. So now what we have, it's still deadly. It's still deadly. And it's supposedly like way above the deadly threshold. So maybe that's too high. Maybe I want to pipe it down to a 7. And that's still above the deadly threshold. Let's pipe it down to a 6. and it's still above it. Okay, let's go down to a 4. 4 level 4s. That's hard. See, I'm experimenting with this. There we go. Now I have 4 level 5, 4 CR5s, and it's over the deadly. This is probably going to be more challenging for them than the original encounter. Now you'll notice that I'm using lower CR, but there are 4 of them. Because there's more of them, it's probably going to be more challenging for them, right? And then if you want to add like a boss or something in, then you could have like 1 boss creature at like a CR7, and then there just be 3 of the CR5s. And then we still are a little bit over the deadly. That should probably be deadly for them. You know, it'll be challenging, maybe, you know, because you still have roughly the equal amount of them. So that's something that's going to help you. The other thing that's going to help you too is that, remember, in 5th edition D&D, the challenge rating system and the encounters and stuff and the balancing is based upon the idea of the adventuring day. That means that players aren't supposed to just have 1 encounter and then be done for the day, right? And blow their wad, blow all their resources. If you only ever have 1 encounter and then they can long rest, you can make those encounters incredibly difficult, and they're probably going to do just fine because they can just use all of their resources. D&D 5th edition is built around the idea of resource attrition. And if you look up in the game, the Dungeon Master Guide, there's a section in there called the Adventuring Day, and it tells you that in a standard day of adventuring, before players take a long rest, they're supposed to go up against a number of encounters. And those encounters drain them of resources, and they have to, you know, they have to manage those resources and not use them up all at once. Otherwise, they could get to the end encounter and be totally out of resources. And so 5th edition D&D is designed around the idea of depleting those resources over the course of an adventure, over several encounters. It's designed that way. If you don't do that, and you just have 1 big encounter, you're going to find that it's a lot easier for them, and you got to make that encounter way more challenging. So, because a lot of people don't want to run the adventure where it's like, oh man, we gotta have like 5 fights to deplete their resources, and the only purpose of like 3 of those fights is to deplete resources, and there's no real point except for let's just have combat and deplete resources, because if I don't deplete resources, then these 2 fights are too easy. So if you don't want to run your adventures like that, that's okay. You don't have to. You can have fewer encounters, battles, you know, fights in your adventure. You just got to make them a lot more challenging because you're not depleting resources. That's the thing to keep in mind. So keep that in mind. That's going to help you too. So the other thing you can do, he's not going to do anything to you. Guapo. The other thing to keep in mind too, or something that can help you as well, is that when you're designing an encounter, try to have a variety of types of creatures. And what I mean by that is you might have a bruiser type. You might have somebody that is a spellcaster, and you might have somebody that is, let's say, a ranged archer type person. You're kind of getting in my way here, buddy. When you have a variety of different creatures as well, and they fit different roles, that's also going to make the encounter a little bit more challenging. And it's also going to make it more tactically interesting for your players as well, because they're going to have to make decisions about who they target and what they do. And especially if some of the creatures are playing a little bit cagey and they're staying away from the characters, then they're going to have to figure out how do we get up to them, or how do we attack them at range. And so those are things also that are going to help make it more challenging for your players, and also just make it more interesting as well. Thoughts on Savage Worlds Pathfinder? I've played Savage Worlds in a one-shot. My friend Kevin, I gotta get his name right because I always get Kevin and Alex mixed up. My friend Kevin ran a Savage Worlds one-shot. It was a superheroes one-shot though. It was not Pathfinder, so I'm not familiar with that in particular. But the Savage Worlds system, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cool. We ran it for like, it was a one-shot, so it was like 2 game sessions, I think. But I liked the Savage Worlds part of it. From what I saw, it seemed pretty cool. So that's all I really know about that. Angelus brings up a really good point. They say that the problem that you have you have an imbalance of character strength between optimizer and non-optimizer. My players optimize a lot, so deadly becomes a medium difficulty. Yeah, if you have players who are good at optimizing their characters and making them stronger, then yeah, they're going to be able to take on a whole lot more. I know when I was running Curse of Strahd, my players could take on a lot, and I had to heavily modify Curse of Strahd to be a challenge for them at all. And it still wasn't really challenging. They still did just fine. Because they were good. They're good players. They're good at tactics, and not all of them had heavily optimized characters, but at least a couple of them for sure did, and were pretty good in combat and stuff. This is not, well, this is Twitch. We've had Twitch for probably 2 months now or so. So he was originally my cat. Like, I had him years ago. And then when my wife and I had to move to an apartment, this is like over a decade ago, we had to leave him with my mom. And then recently Twitch got sick and we were taking care of him. Because he had to take medicine constantly, and it was hard for my mom to give him the medicine. So I was like, leave him here. I'll give him his medicine. And so we were giving him his medicine and stuff. And then he was here for like a month or so as we were like nursing him back to health. And then I told my mom, I was like, you know what? You might as well just leave Twitch here. We'll just take care of him. And so she's like, okay, that's fine. So then we got Twitch back. Zurich, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. What's your favorite character you ever played yourself? Also, I run your adventure Into the Darkness as a printed dungeon crawler, and we loved it. Cool, thank you. Yeah, Into the Darkness was a fun one. I remember I created that. I ran that at a convention. I want to say I ran that at Grand Con, probably about 5 years ago or so. So yeah, that was cool. That's a fun adventure. My favorite character I ever played? I don't know. I'm not a player a whole lot. I don't know. When I'm a player, I usually play like Gary the Intern or the Barbarian, or today I was doing a one-shot with, we were recording it. It's not out yet, but I was recording a one-shot game with Dungeon Coach and Bob World Builder and Duke from One Shot Questers, and then Treant Monk. So the 5 of us were doing a one shot. Dungeon Coach was running the game. We were running his new DC-20 game system. And who was I? Oh, I was a cleric called Sally Journer. So she's one of the characters I like playing too. She's just a cleric. She's a dumb cleric. This time she had a twist to her though. She was kind of evil. But I don't know. I don't really have any characters that I get excited about. Usually I don't like being a player, so I don't really get excited about my characters a whole lot, I don't think. But I can tell you that I like playing rogues a lot. Rogues are really fun. Rogues are probably my favorite class for sure, because when you're a rogue, like, there's always something interesting for you to do. If you're out of combat, utility, tons of stuff for you to do. If you're in combat, good DPS, sneaky stuff, and lots of cool stuff you can do. You know, they're just a really fun character to play. So I always enjoy playing rogues. Hey, Sympaticos, what's up, dude? How you doing, Muddy, buddy? Yeah, he says that he enjoyed the Savage Worlds too. Yeah, it was cool. I like the superhero thing because, like, I like superhero stuff like Marvel and DC comics and crap. So I like superhero stuff. I've always loved superhero stuff, and so playing a tabletop role-playing game that was a superhero game, I thought was really cool. I really enjoyed doing that. And Kevin is a really good game master. He was awesome at that. So that was like super fun. Question: what are your top 3 T's? My top 3 T's? I will show you. I'll bring them over and show them to you. Give me a hot second. I will gather them up for you. All right. So the first type is just a standard peppermint. I really like peppermint tea. Any type of mint tea, I really like. And I usually get herbal teas. Not always. I like green tea too. The next one I have here is pomegranate blueberry acacia. It's just got this very nice flavor to it. This is a green tea, so there's a little bit of caffeine in it. And then I like this one a lot too. This is cranberry hibiscus. It's just got a really nice flavor to it. So those are my top teas. I like Earl Grey also. Earl Grey has like, it's this nice pungent kick to it, so I kind of like that as well. Rocking those Meyer brands. Heck yeah, you think I'm not gonna pay more just because I can? That's dumb. You know, I'm gonna get the Meyer brand when I can. All right. Ryan Wallace, what's up? He says, sweet, haven't watched the stream in a while. Well, welcome back. Welcome. Kaiser says, I don't know how much experience you got on returning to the game after a long break. Enough, probably. I haven't played or consumed any D&D since the OGL stuff. Should I start building a campaign, TPK a party, or else? What? Why would you TPK a party? What? I mean, okay, I don't know if I would start building a campaign. I think I would find a group of players first, because if you don't have players, then there's no sense in building a campaign. You need to find the players first. Get some players to play with you, and then you make a campaign, and then you start playing again. You just jump back in and you start doing it, dude. You know, it's like riding a bike, man. You'll figure it out. It's not hard. If you've done it before and you got experience, you're gonna go right back into it and you'll pick it right back up. But finding players first is probably the thing to do. One way you can look for players is if you join our Discord server, the DM Lair Discord. There should be a link down in the description and stuff. We have a looking for group channel. I think it's called looking for group, LFG. Yeah, we have an LFG channel where you can try to find players and stuff, and a lot of people use it and find groups that way. So feel free to hop on over there and try to find some players first. That'd be my recommendation. This guy is crazy. Okay, you're not usually a player, so what's the most fun and deadliest monster you've ever ran, including the context and environment if you want? Gosh, man, the thing is like, people want stories, right? Like, they want the story about my favorite this and the favorite that and stuff, and like, I mean, most of the time I just don't remember, because I run a game every single week, and there are so many monsters in these things, you know, and so what is my favorite monster? Like, I don't know. I usually just like to run things that are new and different that I haven't run before. I think some of my most memorable combats had little to do with the monsters themselves, and they had more to do with like what the players did and the situation and the story that resulted in like what actually happened, you know. So it's like, I'll get excited about a monster and I'll put it in the game and we'll run it and do this cool stuff, but like, it's the monster is like one piece of the puzzle, you know, and then like when the players interact with it and we find out what happens, then you're gonna find out, oh, did something cool happen? Was that amazing? Or was it kind of like meh? You know, like I had one encounter. This guy's got to calm down, man. You can't sit here in my face the whole live stream, dude. You gotta take it down a level, okay? I had this one encounter where it was an ogre, a standard ogre, like a CR2 ogre right out of the monster manual, and it was one of the most fun encounters, little combats and stuff that I've ever had with my players. And it's because they convinced the ogre to work on their side, because the hobgoblins were screwing him out of food and they weren't giving him his fair share of food. So the ogre fought on their side and they killed all the hobgoblins. And then dude, you're getting hair in my face. All right, you're going down. Sorry. I got like a cloud of hair that is going up my nose. That guy just gets worked up a little too much. I seriously feel like I'm covered by hair. And he's a dirty old man too. He does not bathe himself. Like, he doesn't groom and clean himself like cats are supposed to. we call him a dirty old man. He also chases after mommy cat and little girl too. And then I feel like I have a hair up my nose. I want to stick my finger up my nose and get this hair out, but that wouldn't look good on stream. So this ogre was the top of a tower, and one of the players created an illusion of a lamb and convinced the ogre to jump for the lamb, and because the food, right, to get food, because the hobgoblins were cheating him out of food, and then the ogre plummeted down to the ground, whack, and the players surrounded him and just stabbed the crap out of him. And so it was a really cool, fun encounter, and it was just ogres, hobgoblins, and a tower. That's it. Like, the simplest setup in the world, and yet the monsters were not the interesting part. It was what the players did and the situation and the story that resulted and how things ended that just turned it into this amazing little encounter, you know? And I think that's the thing that makes the game so fun. You know, you can just have something that's very simple, and yet you have the time of your life, you know, with this situation you set up. And then sometimes I could have a monster that I'm super excited about, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing, I love this monster. And then you play it in the game and you're just like, meh, that was not as fun as I thought it was going to be, or something, you know? So it's just like, man, there's these variables, right, you can't account for. I'm gonna find some more questions back here. If you've been a lot of people have been asking questions, and I have not been able to get to all of them because they're coming in faster than I can talk. Feel free to repost your question if I haven't gotten to it. That's fine. M Short says, I took your advice on mixing up encounters by it not just being a fight every time. However, my players just kill everything anyways. What are some fun consequences you can think of for this? Like, you know, the thing is that even if players kill everything anyway, that's fine. The whole idea with not having monsters attack first is to give them the opportunity to resolve that encounter through different means than just fighting, like talking, bribing them, convincing them to let them go by, you know, making up a story, whatever. There are a multitude of different ways players could possibly get by an encounter or overcome the encounter without just fighting them. So the idea is to give them the opportunity to do so. Now, smart players, a lot of times, this might be what's happening with you, will realize, okay, we could convince this person to let us by, but if we do that, we're gonna have bad guys behind us as we go deeper into this compound. And then if we get into a fight up here, these guys might come join it, and then we're sandwiched. Like, smart players realize this sort of thing. You know, it's kind of like, okay, if you're on a SWAT team and you're like breaching, you know, and you're going in there, like you might neutralize some people, but you don't just be like, okay, we neutralized you, that's cool, we're just gonna move on now. No, you have to restrain them, you know, tie them up, whatever you got to do to make sure that they don't come back into the fight. You know, even if you don't kill them, you have to make sure that they're really out of the fight. You can't just be like, oh, cool, these guys gave up. Cool, let's just keep going. No, because the guys that gave up could just grab weapons and come at you. So you have to neutralize the threat. You have to make sure that it's completely like over with, so that you're not going to have to re-encounter it later. So smart players are going to be like, well, you know, these are bad guys. They're literally evil, and we're not going to leave them alive behind us because that's dumb. So yeah, we're going to kill them, you know. Now, so if they're killing everything, okay, fine, cool, you know. Maybe that's the smart thing to do, right? Because leaving active enemies behind you a lot of times is really dumb and can lead to very bad situations further on down the line when you get to you convince your way by everybody and you're at the boss, and then you're gonna do the boss fight, and then the sound of combat brings a lot of other monsters to come fight, you know, or the boss slips away and is running away and then alerting other bad guys and stuff, you know. So smart players will think of those things and they might decide to kill everything, and that's fine. I don't necessarily think that I would think of a way to have there be unnecessary consequences unless I baked it in. Like, if there was an encounter where like there was a reason not to kill the bad guy and there was a reason to leave them alive, right, then I would have baked in what the consequences would be if they killed him, you know, and that would be part of the objective, get by them without killing them. And I would want to make that clear to the players so they know, like, for instance, let's pretend that you're doing a heist adventure and your objective is to steal this thing from the vault. But if you kill too many guards, you're going to upset like maybe some mercenary company that supplies the guards. And then there will be massive backlash to that. And so you really need to do your best to kill as few guards as possible. And that might be part of the scenario that you present to your players. And so they know that going in, we have to not kill guards. And so there are different ways you can do that. But I wouldn't worry too much if your players just kill everything anyway, because a lot of times, like I said, that's just smart gameplay, you know? I want to run a hex crawl like campaign with my players. Do you have any suggestions or tips for doing this? Yeah, I have. Okay, so I literally have an entire video on my channel for running hex crawls. So what I would do is I would literally just go to Google and type in the DM Lair hex crawl, and you're probably going to see my video come up. And I literally walk through exactly how to run a hex crawl for your players. And we also have an issue of Lair magazine that is for hex crawls. I'll find it really quick for you. And it lays out all of the rules for, no, we have a standalone thing on our store for hex crawls. And then we have an issue of Lair magazine that has a hex crawl for you. It has a sample hex crawl. So this is the dmlair.com. This is our site. I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to search the store. Let's see. So let's see. Hex crawl. Is it 2 words? Hex crawl. There we go. So navigating the hexes. Is it going to click on it? There we go. So this right here, if you go to the DM Lair store, this right here is our hex crawl rule book, basically. It just it tells you how to run a hex crawl. And it's not super long or complicated, but it gives you the basic rules, the things you need to know to how to run a hex crawl. Okay. And then Lair Magazine issue 27, if you actually want to get a hex crawl that you can use in your game, issue 27, which is also on our store, has a hex crawl in it. And this hex crawl is for levels 5, 6, and 7. And it has the entire hex crawl, it has the hex map, and it has everything you need to run a hex crawl. So I would suggest watching the video. If you want to get these resources, you're welcome to get the resources as well. But that's probably, I would point you to the video because it's super comprehensive, and it's gonna do way more credit to help you run a hex crawl than, it's not long. I mean, it's probably like a 10-minute video or something. My videos aren't that long. I try to be succinct in most of my videos. Sometimes I talk for a while, but most of my videos I try to be succinct. So I'm just gonna refer you to the video because I think that's gonna do more service than me trying to, like, you know, spend 15 minutes now walking through everything. Oh, you can't wait for the leather books? Ooh, yeah, the leather books. Oh yeah, William brings up a really good point. He says the day they have low resources, they'll appreciate the option to be diplomatic. Yeah. Sometimes players don't want to fight because they've got their butts kicked and they want to get out of it. So yeah, that's a good point. Sometimes that'll work for them. William says, I play with a VTT and I'm having problems with dungeons. Sometimes I have a concept, but it's impossible to find a map that fits. So some rooms end up as filler. Any tips, please? Yeah, so like what I do, there are 2 ways that I create maps for my dungeons. If I'm playing in person, a lot of times I just get out a piece of grid paper, and I draw a map. Done. Because if I'm playing in person, I can draw whatever I want, and then I just, at the table, with my dry erase marker, I draw it out on my hex tiles, and boom, we're done. But that's in person. In person's way easier. Now online, when I'm playing a game online, I really want to have a nice looking map. I just do. And especially since the game that I play online is for patrons, and so it's a paid game, and I really want to make sure that game is nice, and so I have well-made maps. And that means that I'm not making the maps myself. So I do one of two things. One, I draft a map and then I pay somebody to make it for me. I don't do that a whole lot. The other thing that I do is I will go out and I will find existing maps, and I'll find one that's close enough. I find one that's close enough. I'm a patron of one cartographer that has a whole bunch of maps on their site, and I'll go out there and I'll literally just scroll through map after map after map. I'll have a concept for what I want to do, just like you do, and I'll scroll through all of these maps until I find one that's close enough. And when I find one that's close enough, then what I'll have to do is I will literally adapt my concept to the map. I mean, you kind of have to, right? And so you say you have rooms that are empty that are like filler and stuff. Well, okay, that's fine. So let's put a puzzle in there, or let's just have it be like, maybe it's mostly empty and there's a trap in there or something. So it's just life. Like, I don't have a good solution for you. I have the same problem. I run into the same thing myself because I have to use maps that weren't designed for my adventure. And so, like I said, I craft the adventure around the map, and that's just the way I do it. And frankly, it helps in some regards because you can get inspiration from the map sometimes. Like, when you look at the map, if it's a well-detailed map and there are things on the map, it's like, ooh, what is that? Why does that statue have its head broken off? Let's figure out a reason for that. And then you work that into your adventure, right? And then there's a library and there are scrolls all over the floor. Why are there scrolls all over the floor? Let's think of a reason, okay? Now, the players are going to look through the scrolls. Is there something interesting they could find? Well, let's figure out what they could find. Let's maybe tie it into one of their backstories even, you know? And so so it seems like, oh, this map that has all this stuff in there I don't want. Well, look at it a different way. Like, your creativity is confined by your own brain, by your own experiences, by what you're able to think up. So your creativity is not all encompassing. It's just in this little box. So when you look at somebody else's map, and this other person that made the map has their own set of creativity that they put into that map. And then when you take your brain and what you thought of and you try to conform it to that map, well, now you get more creativity because now you're relying on their creativity in that map. And you can figure out other things and more things, and you can make your adventure better than it would have originally been by using that map to inspire you. Another thing that I do as well is I will pull up ChatGPT and I will use it to brainstorm ideas. Like, ChatGPT is great for ideation, like thinking up ideas. I literally sometimes will just be like, hey, I have a ChatGPT and I'll be like, I'm writing this adventure. This is what the adventure is about. Okay. And then I literally, I'll put a bunch of information into it so it understands what I'm doing, right? And then I'll say, okay, I have this room. There's like a table with some scrolls, and what's something interesting that could be in this room for the players to discover? And it'll give me a list of ideas of different things that might be in that room. And then I read through it, and then one of them usually will be like, oh, that's a good idea. I don't usually just take what it gives me because it isn't like specific enough or custom crafted to what I want, but it'll give me an idea, right? And then I can be like, oh, cool, yeah, let's do that, you know. And then I'll make something else. And so you have to. I feel like when you gather inspiration and ideas from other places, you are going to ultimately craft something that's more interesting than if you just sat there in a box and used your own brain. And so that's probably what I have to say about maps. I'm getting low on tea. How do you deal with the inspiration void? Meaning by this that I struggle with inspiration in one of my games. Also, first time on the stream, seems fun so far. Bonsoir de Quebec. Thank you, appreciate that. I don't speak French. Sorry. Inspiration void. I usually, if I am feeling uninspired or I don't know what to do, this kind of ties into what I was literally just saying. I try to get inspiration from somewhere else, and I will use AI. I'll use ChatGPT to give me ideas. I will, like I just said, and that'll get the juices flowing a little bit. Something I think helps too is I will find a lot of times that when I sit down at my desk to write an adventure for my group, or maybe it's a published adventure, I will find that I just don't feel super inspired to do it. I still force myself to write to get it done because I have to. But something I find that helps is to try to think about that adventure elsewhere. Like, not when you're at your desk or wherever you write your adventures, but like you're brushing your teeth, or you're in the shower, or you're mowing the lawn, or you're blowing leaves. You know, let your mind wander, daydream about that adventure. What could happen? What could it be? You know, just like think about it when you're doing other things. When you're at the gym exercising, you're on the cardio mill thingy, rat racy thing, or you're lifting weights or something, you know. Like, let your brain run wild and think about that adventure, you know, and you might get inspired by just thinking about it, you know. And then when you get back to your desk, you're like, oh, I had this cool idea, we were going to do this, boom, and then you go. So I think there are a few different things you can do. At the end of the day, though, I think it's okay not to be inspired every time. Like, not every single time you run a game session is it going to be amazing, and that's okay. Sometimes your adventures are just going to kind of be like meh. You know, it's like, how many good, awesome, amazing adventure ideas do you have in your brain, right? Is every single adventure you create and every game session you run going to be amazing? No, they can't be. It's not possible. You're going to have some that go well, some that suck, and then a lot of them that are just kind of like, oh, it's okay, you know. Like last weekend, I had a game session that I think sucked. I think it sucked, and I went to bed that night and I was like, that game session sucked. I did not like that game session. And then, okay, how can I make it better? And then I'm lying in bed and I'm like, oh, this is okay. This is what I did. And I'm like, I shouldn't have done this, and I shouldn't. And I was thinking of different things, and I had some really good ideas. And so now my players only started the beginning of that adventure. And so now I have time scheduled this Saturday to rework some things for that adventure, to improve it, to make it better, you know? And so my point is that when you're feeling uninspired, you still have to get the job done. You still got to do what you got to do. You know, you're not calling up the game session because you weren't inspired. But don't feel bad if every single one of your adventures isn't like you know, you don't hit it out of the park and it's not super amazing. That's okay. Just do the best you can and just get it done. And then learn from what you did and try to make the next one better. You know, and if a game session fails and it sucks, don't beat yourself up, but try to get better next time and see what you can do to improve things. And like I said, if the adventure hasn't been completed yet, well, then you have time to go fix it and make it better for the next time. You know, it's like everything in life. You have to get it done. You got to get the job done. And sometimes you're going to be inspired and it's going to be amazing, and other times it's going to suck. And you got to just live with that. Don't beat yourself up. Don't give up. Just keep going, put one step with another, and, you know, try to make it better next time. It's all you can do. Ooh. I have a player that is a rogue that doesn't like talking to NPCs and is broody. Well, he decided to play that way. But they complain that they don't do anything but hide in the shadows and shoot arrows. How do I involve them? No. That's their problem. Like, involve yourself. Don't complain to me because you decided to create a character who's broody and hides in the shadows. I didn't create that character for you. You created that character. You decided to be broody. You decided to sit in the shadows. You decided to just shoot things with arrows. Like, you made that character. You decided how you're going to roleplay that character. Don't project your problems on me. I'm not gonna just push a button and fix everything for you. Like, pull your weight around here. That's your character. If you want to do more interesting things, then do more interesting things. Become involved. Don't just put everything on me because you're the game master. You have to solve it. No. Take responsibility. If you don't like your character, fix it. Maybe make a new character. Maybe change how you're role-playing your character. Like, you can do things as a player. Don't just complain because I'm not involved. Like, if I, as the game master, am giving you every opportunity to be involved, then the onus does not lie on me. It is on you to be involved, pull your weight, and do something. It's like, you know, you're like, well, you know, I created a character who like, you know, just wants to be a blacksmith. you know, and so now I can't go on adventures. Fix my problem. No, you're the moron that created a blacksmith. And now you're complaining to me that you don't want to go on adventures? I didn't create that problem, you did. So I think sometimes like players need to take responsibility a little bit and not just expect their game masters to fix everything for them. Hello, Princess Canuta. How are you doing? Thomas, thank you, sir, for the super chat, dude. I appreciate that. Thomas says, I just want to send you a massive thanks, Luke. Because of this channel and others, mostly this one, I have become a confident and consistent DM for the same group of 6 players on a nearly weekly basis for the past 5 years. We appreciate you, all of us. That is awesome. Thank you, dude. I appreciate that. That is so cool. It reminds me of why I do what I do. That's awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. You know, it's interesting too, because like I was literally talking to some other YouTubers today because we were playing a one shot with a dungeon coach. He's making a new role-playing system called DC-20, and I was talking with the other YouTubers, and they were talking about how views in general seem to be down right now, like, you know, and how some of the stuff seems to be struggling on YouTube, you know. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, you know, I always get the same amount of views, not that many, because I don't capitalize on a lot of the sensationalism, you know, like Wizards of the Coast finances are down, you know, like a lot of this sensational news. Like there's this one channel where everything is the sky is falling. Like, oh, the Wizards of the Coast scandal just got worse. You know, like, I don't do all that stuff, and so I don't get tons of views. And the reason I don't do all of that stuff is that I really try to stay focused as much as I can on creating videos and information that's going to help game masters run better games. And I just recognize that that isn't necessarily going to bring in a ton of views all the time, because there's a niche amount of people that are going to be interested in that. But when you talk about Wizards of the Coast has the latest scandal or something, you know, that gets like tons of views, you know, but I don't make videos like that because I'm trying to help people. And so my point is, what I'm trying to say is that it helps to make me feel good about my decision to help people, as opposed to chasing after views or chasing after all of this kind of bullcrap, you know, when people just say the impact that I've had, you know, on their games as a game master. So that's really cool. Thank you, dude. I appreciate that. Is it fair to kill off a player who never kill your players? You might go to jail for that. Prison probably, if you kill your players. So I would not do that. That would be my recommendation. Not legal advice, because, you know, you might get away with it, but chances are you won't get away with it. You probably shouldn't kill your players. What was the rest of the question? Who chooses to be essentially a mute who presents for combat only? No, I mean, that's just how some people want to play the game, you know? Like, they might not care about anything else. Like, okay, you do all this talky stuff, and they're just like, oh, this is so stupid, I don't care about this. And then you're doing this exploration, and you're finding traps, and you're solving puzzles, you know, and they're just like, oh, this is so boring, I hate this crap, why? The one thing they care about is combat, and they love it. You know, and they're like, I love the tactics, I love the combat, casting my spells and doing this stuff. Like, this is the part of the game I'm here for. That's okay. If somebody shows up, listen, everybody has different preferences, and some people show up for D&D for this reason, others for this reason, others for this reason. Sometimes people might not like this, but they put forth effort. Other times they might not like this and they don't put forth any effort. Well, you know, what are you gonna do? You know, they don't like that part of the game. But if they're still there and they are engaged with other parts such as combat, like, I don't inherently see a big problem with that. Like, I'm not going to be like, well, you know, if you aren't involved in our social interaction, then you aren't there trying to help solve these puzzles when they come up, well, then I'm afraid that there's no room at this table for you and you're going to have to leave. Like, and why would you kill off their character? Like, killing off their character does nobody any good. Like, the reason they only want to be involved in combat has nothing to do with their character. It has everything to do with the player, most likely, and the player's preferences. If you kill their character, they're going to make another character who's going to do the exact same thing. You're not solving your problem. You will never solve any problem that you're experiencing in the game by killing off a character. That will never solve any problem ever. Because almost every single in-game or out-of-game problem has to do with the player, not their character. And killing a character is just some punitive punishment bullcrap that doesn't do any good, probably pisses off the player, and will make them worse at whatever the thing is that you didn't like to begin with. So don't kill off their characters. It's a bad idea. It's a very, very bad idea. And you say, well, it detracts from the experience of the rest of the table. How? Like, what are they doing this preventing? Like, if I'm sitting there quietly and everybody else is playing the game, how is that detracting from their experience? Now, you could argue, yes, I'm not contributing to the environment. Sure, right? But come on, like we're playing a game, man. Like, what are our actual expectations, right? Like, if I'm at a job, my boss has a right to tell me these are your job expectations and you have to do them. And if you don't like this, that, or the other, I don't care. You're going to do them or you're fired. That's my job. I show up, I do everything that's required of me. Okay. But it's a game, you know, it's a game. You can't be like, you can't be like, listen, you know, you have to be there. You have to do the role, the talkie parts, and you need to engage in every part of this game. And if you're not, I'm afraid that you're going to have to go. Like, it's a game, man. Like, how high are our expectations going to be for players? You know, like, you can't just be like, well, no, every player is different. People show up for different reasons. And some people just want to roll dice and relax and have fun. And they're just like, man, now you want me to talk in character and use special voices? Like, screw that crap. I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. Well, you have to, otherwise it's affecting everybody else's game experience. Oh, come on, man. Dude. Now there are players that do actually detract from the game experience. Now, I'm not there. I'm not watching your game. I don't know what's actually happening, right? I'm just talking. So if you can definitely see that something the player is doing or isn't doing is detracting from everybody else's experience, like if they're sitting there on their phone, you know, and then, hey dude, check this out. Now, if that's what they're doing, that's different. That's totally detracting from the experience. So like, you got to use your judgment, right? And like what they're actually doing. But if they're literally just sitting there kind of being quiet a lot and just paying attention to other people, you know, and then they really only engage in combat, like, is that really detracting from the game? Like, I would question that. You know, I would really question that. Oh, super chat. Thank you, Layden, for the super chat. Appreciate that, dude. I'm currently running a game and my players defeated a demon lord. It was ruling over the land they are currently in now. They want to take his place and be the villains. How would you handle this? There you go. You have an evil campaign. Doot, 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 doot. Great. Okay, so I have an entire video on running an evil campaign. I highly recommend you go look at it because it gives you some, it has incredibly good information about how to run an evil campaign. If you do a Google search for running an evil campaign, you're going to get a lot of garbage. You're going to get a lot of garbage results, okay? Because a lot of the advice out there about running evil campaigns is just stupid and it's bad. I'm sorry, it is, okay? In my video, I actually talk how to run an evil campaign that works, that doesn't involve everybody just being chaotic little gremlins and ultimately killing each other. That's not an evil campaign, all right? The way to do an evil campaign is to say, okay, guys, listen, you're going to be the bad guys. Great. But here's the thing. As the bad guys, you're still going to work together as a group. We're not going to do this whole backstabbing bullcrap because we want to play a cooperative game as a group. Okay, you're bad guys, you're evil, that's fine, that's fine. But evil people don't just go around stabbing other evil people all the time. Like, evil people can work together and accomplish a lot together. So we're going to play a group game, which means you guys aren't going to just backstab each other. Let's put that on the table right now, so we're very clear on that. The second thing is that, okay, you're the bad guys now. Great. Bad guys have goals and objectives, and they want to accomplish things. So now this is the point. So everything about running an evil campaign is a lot similar to running a good campaign, a normal campaign, but there's one big difference. And the difference is that for an evil campaign, you as the game master aren't going to create adventures and plot hooks and stuff. What you need to do instead is tell your players, okay, cool, you're the bad guys. What are you trying to do? What are your objectives as bad guys? What do you want to get, accomplish, etc.? And then they tell you, and you're like, okay, cool, that's the thing you want to do? Great, I'm gonna go create an adventure that is that thing. And then you're mostly just running normal games where they're like, okay, we're bad guys, we wanna do these things. So we wanna go do this. You create an adventure. They have to go, they're fighting good guys and they go do this thing on an adventure. Okay, great, that's awesome. Now they have a lair, right? So you might have this cool scenario where they have to defend their lair against attackers. Like, good guys might send a band of adventurers to attack their lair. That's possible, that will happen. You could have some lair defense missions and things like that. So there's some cool stuff you can do. So what I'm saying is that running an evil campaign doesn't need to diverge a whole lot from a good campaign, with the exception that an evil campaign is usually player directed and they decide what they want to do. I would say that's the main difference you're gonna find. But anyway, I have an entire video. I would go check the video out because it's got some good information in it. All right, so I am a new DM and I am wanting to run a mass combat. How should I go about that without it getting too stale or stagnant? Okay, I have a few tips about mass combat. So the first thing I want to say is I'm going to give you some information right now, but we do have on our site, we have a mass combat rule set that you might find helpful. And I have an entire video on my channel too about mass combat as well. So you can go to thedamlair.com and get our mass combat rule set right here. It has rules in it for mass combat. But what I want to tell you is this. If you're looking for a mass combat rule set, my first recommendation for you, if you want a rule set, because you don't need a rule set, you can do mass combat without a rule set. I want to make that clear. But if you want a rule set, I highly recommend you get a rule set that is lightweight, that is not super long. If you get an entire 200-page book about mass combat, let me explain to you exactly how that's going to work. You are going to spend some time reading those rules in all of their glorious complexity. And then you're going to spend some time explaining to your players those rules in all of their glorious complexity. And your players are going to forget half of it, and you're going to forget half of it. And then when you actually run mass combat at your table, it's going to be a little bit sloggy as you're trying to learn these rules and figure out how it works. And then eventually, like most of the way through one of the battles in a game session, you're going to kind of have a good idea of how the rules work. Maybe, but it's a 200-page book, so maybe not. And then you're like, okay, cool, great, we got through this mass combat, excellent. Well, guess what happens? Mass combat isn't that much of the game. Most of D&D has to do with normal adventuring, and mass combat doesn't come up that often. So guess what happens? 6 months go by with no mass combat, and then you have another mass combat, and you're like, oh no, I have a 200-page rule book that I have to read. Ah! And then you got to go through that whole experience again, which is why I'm telling you, if you want to run mass combat and you want to use rules, like a rule set, you want a lightweight rule set that's not that long, that is very succinct and very easy to pick up and very easy to implement, because it makes your job as the game master easier, it makes it easier for your players, and you don't have as much to learn and memorize and then refresh yourself on. It just makes your life easier. So obviously our mass combat rule set is very lightweight. It's like 5 pages or something, and it has a whole bunch of stat blocks for you. So this PDF is a lot longer than 5 pages because we include a whole bunch of stat blocks. I think I can show you some of these stat blocks. You kind of can, but we have a whole bunch of stat blocks for different troops that you can have in your mass combat system. So anyway, Check this out. It's probably going to be helpful for you. But that's my first point. You want a lightweight rule set if you have one. Now, the thing is, of course, you know, I cannot run a Kickstarter and make like $1 million by publishing a mass combat rule set that's like that thick. I can't do it. I need a 200-page book. So there's a reason some of the things that we have out there are the size that they are, because there's like, you know, business reasons and marketing reasons and sales reasons and stuff that go into publishing some of these resources. And so yes, we sometimes get resources out there that are way bigger and longer and more complex than you could ever possibly use, because they weren't made necessarily with ease of use in mind or with the game master in mind. They're a product, you know, and the only way you can get, you know, $40 a person on a Kickstarter is making a nice book. It's just the way it works, right? And so, anyway, we're getting way into a rabbit hole right there. The other point I want to make about mass combat is that you don't need to have a rule set at all, because you can just narrate everything. You can just narrate mass combat. You can have your players describe what their units are doing, and then you can describe what the enemy units are doing. And then if you want to make some quick, easy dice rolls and just make up crap on the spot, you can do that as well. You don't have to use any dice. You could have ask the players what they're doing, and then figure out what the enemies are doing, and then just decide what happens. You can easily do that. Now, the other thing that you can do, and this is what I would actually do, what I do if I were to run mass combat is I would turn, and I've done this before in my games, I turn it into a normal adventure. This is the scenario. Orcs are attacking the castle, okay? And the orcs have an army, and the castle has defenders. You, however, are an adventuring party. You are an elite strike force. And so what you do as an elite strike force doesn't just attack the army. That's not what you do. Elite strike forces have very specific objectives. Things that will help the defenders win. So, as an elite strike force, well, there's a general of the army. If you can get past his defenses, attack the general, and kill the general, that's gonna cause a problem for that army, okay? Now, there's a whole bunch of siege engines, catapults that are attacking the castle walls. Well, guess what, Elite Strike Force? Go disable the catapults that are guarded by giants. Great, there you go. Oh no, there's a battering ram that's coming for the castle gates. You, Elite Strike Force, leave through the sally port, loop around, and destroy the battering ram. There you go. Okay, do you see what I'm saying? You don't involve the adventuring party in the mass combat itself. The mass combat is something that's happening in the background, and you're giving your players and their characters very specific objectives that they need to do to help the defenders win in this scenario. And then you run those objectives out like you would any other scenario in your D&D game. The general has some bodyguards, and then your players go in. They have to sneak by or somehow get past some guards on their way in. There might be little scuffles here and there, but then they have to have a battle against the general. Same thing against the giants and the catapults, right? And then the ogres that are pushing the battering ram. Like, this is how you can do that. So you have mass combat, but you're still running a mostly standard D&D game, a standard scenario. And so that's how I would recommend doing that. And then, based upon how successful your players are in achieving their objectives, that is what determines whether that castle stands or whether it falls, whether the orcs are defeated or whether they overrun that castle. And I think that is probably an easier way to run mass combat, because you're not actually running mass combat. It just happens in the background. It doesn't involve any additional rules you have to learn, you know, and it can be super satisfying and super awesome, you know. And so that is another way, that is my preferred approach for mass combat when I run it at my game tables. Have you ever used another game like Risk or Battleship to play out mass combats? No, I don't. I've never done that. You could, but the thing is that at that point, you're not playing D&D anymore. You're playing a different game. And almost every time, like, somebody has suggested playing a different game than D&D, like, people are like, why would I do that? Like, I once had a player who wanted to play a poker game, You know, like he wanted to role play playing the poker game, and all the other players were like, I don't really want to play poker, dude. I came here for D&D. Can we just do some dice rolls? You know, and that one player was disappointed, but it's like, you know, nobody wants to play poker. We all showed up to play D&D. So if you pull out Risk, which I like Risk, I find it enjoyable, but I'm going to tell you, there's a whole slew of people like real board gamers who think Risk sucks because it's simplistic, it's dice chucking, and there's like no strategy, very minimal strategy. It's mostly just dice chucking and random chance, you know. And so most board gamers are probably going to have a little bit of a stigma against Risk, you know. And if you pull that out, a lot of folks are going to be like, whoa, that's not happening, dude. So you might get it to work at your table or something, but chances are it's probably not going to work. But you can always ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. Matthew Hamlin says, I finally was able to leave my group. No more bad D&D. Oh, wow, yeah. Was it hard getting out of your group? You said you were finally able to leave. And that makes it sound like it was hard to get out. Honestly, it sucks because finding a new group is going to be rough. Well, you know, I would go over to the DM Lair Discord. We have a looking for group channel, LFG channel, and you can try to find a group there. That might help. I don't know if you prefer to play. If you prefer to play in person, then going to a local game shop and putting up little posters and stuff. Most game shops have like a tack board where you can put up little things that just say, hey, I'm looking for a group. And a lot of times game masters will put up things on the tack board where it says that they're looking for players. And I've gotten lots of players for my in-person games by putting up a flyer at a game store. That's it. It's got like, this is the game, this is my email, send me an email. I've gotten lots of players like that. It takes a little bit of time, but it can be done, you know. Simpatico says, why aren't you posting any more videos from the Thieves Abound campaign? Those are all on my other channel now, the stream, the DM Lair streams. I've started putting them on my other channel, dude. So they're all over there. I'm just not putting them on the main channel. We had a theory that those videos, because they don't get a lot of views, were affecting the other videos. So yeah, we put them on the other channel. I don't know if our theory was correct or not, but we just did it. All right, looking for more questions. Oh, we have a giveaway going on, guys. We have a giveaway. You should go join the giveaway. There should be a link down in the description. Hold on, I'll make sure we have giveaway. There we go. All right, I just threw a link in the chat where you can go join the giveaway. You'll be able to get a signed copy of Into the Fae. This is our first Kickstarter, level 1 to 5 adventure module. Or you can get store credit on the DM Lair store. We have a whole bunch of resources, 5th edition, Pathfinder 2 stuff on the DM Lair store as well. Also, by the way, since we're talking about the DM Lair store, you can also now get Foundry packs on the DM Lair store. This is one of them that was released. I think this is the one we just released this month right now. This is an adventure arc. We have it in both 5th edition and Pathfinder 2, and it has all of everything, the read aloud text, everything's linked in crap. And then if you go to all of the creature tokens, you know, we have all their stat blocks, everything is in here. The lighting, the walls, everything is set up on these things. It's super well done. We have a company that's doing that for us, and they are doing an amazing job. So you can get Foundry modules now on the DM Lair store as well. Pathfinder 2 or 5th edition, all of those things. And then we also just released our latest edition of Lair magazine as well. This just came out, Fiends and Flames. Super cool stuff if you are looking for resources to use in your games. So go check that crap out. And then I am going to, while you guys are joining the giveaway, I'm going to go bio really quick. I will be right back. Watch this sleazy plug video.
Are you a dungeon master? Do you want to be a dungeon master? Do you have blue face paint on your face? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, then you're just like me. Not only do you enjoy smashing players in the face with your axe every time they metagame, but you're also a busy person, and while prepping for a D&D game, well, sometimes that's hard. And as much as you'd like to force one of your players to run D&D for a change, well, they all suck, so it's pretty much up to you to be the forever dungeon master. And that's exactly why I get out my crayons every month and write a new issue of Lair magazine. Well, I mean, it's not just me, I have a team of people too. We all get out our crayons and write it, but yeah. Anyway, every issue of Lair magazine contains 5th edition Dungeon Master resources to help you reduce your prep time while still running amazing games for your lazy, good-for-nothing players. Every issue of Lair magazine contains 2 to 3 adventures complete with maps for online play. You know, we also sprinkle in other stuff like puzzles and traps, which, let's be honest, both suck to have to make yourself. So, I mean, wouldn't you rather just become a DM Lair patron and pay me to write them for you? I mean, you know, my team and I, with our crayons? Now, if you love your wonderful players as much as I do, consider helping me to meet my sales quota by becoming a DM Lair patron today at the link below. You'll get a new issue of Lair magazine every month and other cool stuff like map packs and bonus adventures. Okay, that's it. Please become a DM Lair patron now, or I will find you.
Whew. All right. Get some tea going. All right. Looking for more questions. If you didn't get your question answered, you're welcome to repost it. Sith Lord says, I see a lot of content from the DM Lair Store website. Yeah, we have tons of stuff up there, dude. Is there usually a Black Friday sale? There is. That will be coming up around Black Friday. So yeah, that'll be a thing. All right, looking for questions. Some questions. Bacon is delicious. Yes. Elcha says bacon is delicious. You are very right. There's a question. Do you have any thoughts about the Pathfinder 2E remaster plan? As you're still learning the original 2E, I only learned about it today. I'm not buying new books. I literally bought Pathfinder books like 8 months ago or something. I just bought them all. I'm not buying new ones. I don't give a flying crap. Not buying them. No, actually, hold on a second. I don't think I have to buy them. I think Paizo's sending them to me. Yeah, no, they are. They are. They're literally sending them to me. I'm on their like press list or something, so they're sending them to me. So, yeah, I'm using the normal books, the old books. No. So, I think they made some quality of life improvements, is my understanding, but one of the main impetuses for making the remastered was to remove parts of the OGL and stuff from it so they could go over to the Orc completely, which is my understanding. So I'm sure they made quality of life improvements based upon, like, you know, 5+ years of people playing the game. I'm not sure how long they've been out. They've been out for 5 to 8 years or so ish. I don't know. So I'm sure they've made some improvements based upon playing and stuff. But I don't know. All right. When building a world, do you have different levels? Are, say, blacksmith. Depending which blacksmith a player goes to, they can repair certain types of armors or weapons. I mean, like, I don't do that, but there's no reason you couldn't do that. Like, different blacksmiths have different levels of skill, so it totally makes sense that, like, one dude is like, look, man, I make horseshoes. You know, I make like bridles and crap. Like I make basic stuff that we can use around the village. Like, you're bringing me this sword and I don't repair swords. I'm sorry. Like, I can try, but I've never worked on a sword before. And swords require different level of skill and tempering and different things that I just don't know how to do it. So, I mean, like, I can try, but No promises. Whereas other blacksmiths are like specialized in armor or specialized in swords. So like, I think it makes sense that maybe some won't be able to do some things and others would. I usually don't get to that level of detail in that particular thing in my games. My games tend to emphasize adventures and going on adventures and stuff, but there's no reason that you can't do that for sure. Just because I do something different doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. I thought 2E came out in 2019. It may have. I don't remember. I don't remember when Pathfinder 2nd Edition came out. I don't know. Do you use a reputation system in your game? I use a faction reputation system. Yeah, I do. I do. Yeah. Something like how Star Wars Online does light and dark side, or how WoW did rep stuff with all kinds of different groups and factions. I mean, I have a group faction. I'll show you in my OneNote my basic system. It's nothing complicated. It's really easy. Hold on a second. Sharing my screen with you. So, for instance, if I go to, let's go to my my Eberron campaign, and where is this? Changed everything. They changed the interface, and so now I can't find stuff. Okay, faction favor. There it is. So it's very simple. This is super brain dead simple. There's nothing complicated here. Come on, scroll, go in so you can see stuff. So basically, there are different groups in the area that my players are adventuring in. You have the halflings of Lowbrook, the Jurassicar orcs, the dwarves, the dromites, Emerald Claw, House Jurassico and stuff. And then as my players are completing adventures, if they completed an adventure, then somebody's going to be happy they completed that adventure, and somebody's going to be not happy. Like, if they go and defeat the Emerald Claw, like the Emerald Claw has a hideout, and they defeat the Emerald Claw, their reputation with the Emerald Claw goes down. However, the Jurassicar orcs were the ones that sent them there, and so their reputation with the Jurassicar orcs goes up. And so it's very, very basic. Everybody starts out at 10, which is completely neutral, and then as it goes down, you can become enemies and mortal enemies, and then if it goes up, you become friends and champions. And then there's some basic stuff here. You can pause the video and look at the different descriptions here of what it means, and it's just very basic. And then I just roleplay this stuff out and just make up things on the fly. Like, if they're friends with somebody and they ask them for a minor favor, oh, okay, cool, we'll do it. It's that basic type of thing. So nothing complicated. It's very, very simple. I just kind of play it. I just kind of wing it and play it on the fly type of thing. It was 2019? Okay, cool. Simpatico says it was 2019. It was the last Gen Con I went to. Okay, sweet. Soul Savior asks, building my own world, 4 continents, large open space in the middle. Should I add a 5th, or should I put the compass there or something else? First time drawing my own map, so advice is welcome. I'm not a map dude. I'm not a map dude, so I don't think I really can give you some super special advice on that. I can tell you though that islands are really cool. There's a lot of stuff you can do with islands that I think are cool. So instead of just like a continent, maybe there's like a string of islands or something, just a bunch of islands, large and small and stuff, because there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with islands. Some of them are unexplored, maybe uninhabited. You can have a pretty cool naval campaign that is like with islands, because a lot of the adventures take place on the islands and others can take place in a ship. Some of them can be undersea. There's a lot of versatility in a campaign when you have islands, as opposed to just a continent. So you might throw an island chain there if you'd like. That's something cool you can do, but that's probably all the advice I have. I'm not a map dude. My players have trouble with big bads fleeing. So far, they've only killed 1 out of 5 big bads. The rest escaped. Do you think it's a fun idea for these big bads to team up and ambush the PCs? Sure, why not, dude? I think that could be a really fun surprise for them, where they're like, all the big bads that have escaped all of a sudden ambush them. I think that's pretty cool. I think your players would get a kick out of that, and it would give them a chance to get revenge too, or at least like tie up loose strings because the big bads are finally back. You know, I think that could be super cool. Yeah. Do you know the name of the monster on the first player book for D&D? I don't know. What is it? I don't know which is the first book for D&D. What is it called? The first D&D. Which book was it? Player book? First D&D player book cover. Is it this one? That's Moloch. If that's the one we're talking about, that's Moloch. Well, that's advanced D&D. I mean, I don't think is that the first one? I'm not sure that that's the first one. That's Moloch, I'm pretty sure. He is a Lord of the Nine Hells, but in the current cosmology, he is no longer one of the lords. He was defeated by, he might have been the ruler before Asmodeus came along, and then Asmodeus displaced him. But I could be getting my lore messed up. I could be wrong. Anyway, that's the best I got. What's the most fun you've had in a session? How do you quantify fun? How do I measure that and give you a number? It's a statue of Moloch. It's an Eidolon. What's an Eidolon? Now I have to look up that. Eidolon. Oh, let's do Eidolon D&D. An undead construct. Oh, okay, so it wasn't a Lord of the Nine Hells. So I was getting stuff mixed up. Yeah, okay, let's go back over here. I got the name right. I just didn't know I had the creature type wrong. I was getting it confused with something else. So an Eidolon is a form of undead construct. Cool. Cool. All right, cool. Well, thank you, dude. At least I got the name right. The measure of fun is decibels of lulz per minute. All right, let's draw the winner to our giveaway. Let's get the giveaway going. Folks have had enough time to join the giveaway. So now we're going to draw the winner to the giveaway. Woo! Right about this time, somebody's gonna be like, wait, I didn't know there was a giveaway. Wait, no. All right, I gotta find. Oh, what the heck just happened there? Push the wrong button, baby. The wrong button. Uh-oh. Still the wrong button. Trying to find the name here. Okay, here we go. Jamie from North Carolina. Jamie from North Carolina, you have won the giveaway. I will be, yeah, simpaticos. There's a giveaway. I will be sending you an email, and we'll get you hooked up with. You'll get a signed copy of Into the Fae if you want, or we can give you store credit on the D&D Lair store. Your choice. We'll get you something cool though. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're done for tonight. We are finished with our Q&A. Next week, I have Alexander Macris on. He is the dude who wrote Arbiter of Worlds, a superb game master book. I love that book. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff in it. So he's going to be on. He has a long track record history of working in the RPG industry, game design, a whole bunch of cool stuff. So it's going to be awesome having him on stream. We're just going to probably do Q&A, talk to people, and just help you guys out and stuff. So we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. I'm going to push some buttons now, and we're going to be done and out of here. Have yourselves a wonderful day.